Episode 36 of the Bmoney Beastin podcast. I didn't think I'd make it this far, but here I am. I'm here with Nate Shearon. He is the president of Blackan Youth Football. And I really, whenever I'll tell everybody how I know you here in just a minute, but I think it's cool to speak about something new. Not just, we talk about wrestling all the time, but to speak about something new. I think that'll be really neat, and just a change up from what we've always done.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm glitching out right now.
I'm a big fan of youth sports in general, and I tell parents all the time, let them try all the sports, find what they really like. I'd prefer a tough sport, because we're trying to prepare them for adulthood, but I'm a big proponent of all youth sports.
Dude, I was a football player, and that's why I think this conversation is going to be so cool. I grew up. I had a kid down the street. He goes, he comes up to me and he goes, I was like 6, 7, I don't know. And he goes, hey man, just out of nowhere, random. He goes, you want to go play football? I'm like, okay. I show up at this old dingy. I know you're up in the Nashville area.
Right.
We live down in North Georgia, so Chattanooga's got like a little outskirts of like all these little North Georgia towns.
Oh yeah.
And dude, Chattanooga Valley is basically Flintstone. It's at the bottom of Lookout Mountain, and it's a little Georgia section of Lookout Mountain. And dude, this kid that lived down the street, his grandpa, who was like, I don't know, 80 at the time, was the football coach for like 8U or whatever it was, right? And I show up at this dingy ass baseball field, and it was almost like, you remember the Adam Sandler remake of what was that? The movie where they're in prison?
Oh yeah, The Longest Yard.
The Longest Yard, yeah. Where you remember when they go to that field and there's like all those little sticky things in the dirt and all that? Dude, I swear it was like that. And the fence had like razor wire. I was like, I'm like 7 years old. I'm like, what am I getting myself into? Yeah. And I was scared, dude. I remember that. I remember being scared. They put me at running back.
Yeah.
They hand me the ball, and the defense, of course, is coming. And the whole offense turns around and comes at me too. And I take off running to the gates. I was like, I ain't stupid. Granted, it all came together for me, and that's something that spent a lot of time in my life. And so I think this is really cool that we can talk about something different. I want to show you something. Let me first say how I know you.
Okay.
Not long ago, I interviewed Shearon, who is Mr. Shearon's stepdaughter and his family, and we've been kind of following Jericho, who is your son.
Correct.
And they're really great people, really great family, and we're just excited to have a conversation here. I do want to show you something though, because I think you'll really appreciate this. Okay, as we're getting into this football conversation, Bryson played football until he was in 8th grade. And he realized, he's like, dude, I'm tiny, right? Like I'm not growing. Like this ain't gonna work.
Right.
When he was 5 years old, or 5 or 6, I got a picture here. I'm gonna pop up, and you're gonna laugh really hard. And it's the obvious like football dad like reaction. Okay. I just want to show you this. I ran across this picture. Dude, he's in the end zone, and there I am with the arrow. I'm just so pumped up. I'm shocked I didn't have a stroke. And we're talking about, 6U football, right? Where when you hand the ball off on like a jet sweep.
Oh yeah.
And dude, like everybody just like stands there and watches him. He's like, look, there he goes.
Yeah. Just the fast kid, whoever can get the edge first, they gonna score. Man, what I like about the picture is you're looking back at the crowd. You're like, yeah, that's my boy. What's up?
Well, I mean, I think there's this thing, and some parents take it too far, right? And I've been a little guilty of that at times.
Yeah.
But I feel like in general, whether they win, lose, or successful or not, you always try to support, and not just my kids, all kids.
Of course.
Like just yesterday. About 10 o'clock last night or something, I seen something Shy posted where she was upset. She kind of struggled in a new weight class yesterday. And I shared it. I said, win or lose, this kid's a stud. So I was giving her props, man, because, dude, that's a hard thing. Sports in general are hard. Like, it's hard. Like, I remember growing up, right? And I was not the most athletic kid. I became athletic through a lot of hard work. Does that make sense?
Of course, yeah.
And it was like, I think the fastest 40 I ever ran in my life was like 4.85 or something, right? Now, granted, I was weighing like 240.
That's pretty fast for 240.
So I'll take it. Now, granted, on average, I was running about 4.95 flat, but I did hit that 4.85 once, so I took that. That's my number. But
good. The fastest I got was a 4.9, so you're faster than me. And
you're bigger than me.
Yeah, I'm a big guy, but still.
Dude, I was at a football camp at Georgia before my senior season. I made all area a couple of times and all that. I played outside linebacker, defensive end. And, dude, I got invited to this Spark. Do you remember Spark? It was a thing for a while with Nike.
Yeah. Was it Advocare made it?
It was Nike. It was
I'm thinking about something totally different. I do remember Spark. But, yeah, I'm thinking about the nutrition, like the
no.
There used to be a product called Spark. I'm old. I'm 46. But it had it's banned now, but it was a stimulant. I can't remember the name, but Spark had that in it. So yeah, I'm way off. But yeah, I do.
Dude. Spark was like SPARQ, and it was like a cumulative. I can't even say that word. Like, I don't know. I'm from Ringgold. We don't speak well, but it was like you run a 40 and do bench reps and a vertical jump and a short shuttle and all this shit and broad jump, and then they give you this number.
Right.
Well, dude, I was at the Nike Spark Camp in 2006. Yeah, the summer of 2006. Actually, just last year they retired or 2 years ago they retired my Rivals page.
Oh, did they?
I used to show that to people like, that's my claim to fame, man.
Dude, I didn't even have the internet when I was in high school. We had VHS tapes. We'd have to use the double VHS and play and record and hand mail them to colleges. But
I did the same thing, though. That's a true thing. I did that too. We'll get to that as we get through this. But I was there with Eric Berry. You got to know who Eric Berry is.
Yeah, freak. Tennessee and Kansas City Chiefs.
And then he had cancer, lymphoma of some kind, and then he come back and made comeback player of the year. Like, amazing human being.
Yep.
And I remember this kid comes up to me. I didn't know who Eric Berry was. We never played Creekside or wherever he played down there in Atlanta. And he comes up to me, and we're in line for the 40. All right. The kid's got a broken forearm. I'll never forget this as long as I live. He broke his forearm in spring practice. And he's got this red cast, and, all these people had signed it or whatever.
Right.
And they're recording, or they're timing 40s on a laser, dude. On a laser. So it's as accurate as it can be.
Right.
That kid ran a 4.36 with a broken forearm.
That's insane.
And I remember I was right behind him, and I'm like, yeah, shit.
Yeah, D1's a different animal.
Dude, that was the most ridiculous thing I ever seen. And I went behind him. I think I ran like 5.18 or some shit, Justin Houston was there, who played for the Chiefs.
Yep.
And I beat him on everything but the 40. I remember that. And that was my claim to fame. I was like, now he's a millionaire and I sell wrestling cards, but still.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing about the league now, it's all speed. I mean, you got Aaron Donald, D tackle, weighs 285. I mean, I wonder what his 40 is. I don't know. But, I mean, these guys are so fast now. It's a big difference when I was in high school and, we just got in the eye and ran downhill, and we had the big cowboy collar, neck braces and fullbacks and tailbacks weigh 250. Like, the game's changed so much. I'm like, where do these kids come from? They're just so fast.
I blame it on the food we eat.
I think so too. Yeah. I
think that my neighbor, really nice guy. I got a neighbor here. He's from Africa, right?
Okay.
And he's got to get that accent and all that. Really sweet human being, man.
Yeah.
I was talking to him one day, and we'll just talk about life or whatever here and there when we see each other. And we were sitting there talking, and he goes, man, for about 10 years, he worked at a chicken processing plant when he first came to the United States. And he said, dude, you wouldn't believe this if I told you, but this is true. He said, man, there's a conveyor belt and 500 pounds of chicken goes on this. I'm just making up a number. I forget what he said, and it goes on this conveyor belt and then it goes through this process where it gets injected, right? And by the time it gets to the end of the conveyor belt, it's like 4 times the size that it was.
Yep.
So you look at, and I say this, and this is not a creepy thing I'm trying to say, but if you look at young girls that are developing faster than they did like 20 years ago.
Oh, they're 8, 9 years old. It's crazy.
Yeah, that I feel like kids in general are developing a lot quicker than like when we were kids because of the food that we eat. And, when you're basically eating steroids, that's essentially what they're doing. They're pumping chicken and beef and everything to make it bigger to sell them more by the pound. That's what's happening. And when I was in high school, I remember I only played probably 3 kids that were 310 plus, right? Maybe ever. One of them, dude, I struggled for 4 quarters at Hiram. I'll never forget it. He actually blocked me one time to my back, and I'd never been so pissed in my life. And I was like, dude, I'm going to punch this mother. Like, I was pissed. I was like, this is embarrassing. But you got to think, the kid was, 6'4", 315. Right. I was, 6 foot, 235. Like, it just wasn't – it was what it was. Yeah, and so I gave it what I could. But, you look at it, fast forward, like you said, on our team, we had one kid when I was a senior. He was a junior, and he was a track kid, right? And he ran I want to say he ran a 4.35, and he was the fastest kid in school history at Ringgold High School. Mm-hmm. Granted, he could not run east and west. He could run straight. He had one gear. So, like, when he ran a jet sweep, they only ran him on jet sweeps because he was so small he couldn't run up the middle.
Just get the edge for us. That's all we need.
Well, the thing was, he would run in a straight line to the sideline and, like, stop and then turn around and then run straight. It wasn't like a rounded process.
Yeah, had to be like a 90-degree angle.
It was, dude. And, dude, he scored a lot on it because he was just so fast.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I think the next fastest was like a 4.65 or something. Like, 40s and you watch the combine, I find that fascinating every February, man. Like, you see these, like, remember Lane Johnson? He's still playing for the Eagles.
Yep.
He ran like a 4.6 at 325 pounds or some shit.
That's nuts, man. We got like a 4.2, like almost every year somebody's getting a 4.2, and we don't even bat an eye anymore.
No, it's been broken, twice in the past 5 years?
Yeah, it's insane. Like, we don't even think twice about it. Like a 4.3, 4.4 is like slow. I mean, it's nuts how fast these guys are.
And I also, when we're on this football topic about development, dude, you look at quarterbacks, right? And I find this fascinating. If you look, let's just go back like 20 years. So 2004, okay? I remember watching the 2004 draft. Well, this is 21 years ago. It's 2025 now. But, yeah, same difference. I remember watching the 2004 draft. And out of that draft, there was essentially 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks: Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, and Ben Roethlisberger.
Yep.
Now, you look at them, all of them sat for a little bit, right? Kurt Warner played most of the season with the Giants. Drew Brees was still with San Diego at the time. Phillip Rivers sat. And then Roethlisberger was sitting behind Tommy Maddox. Yep. I don't know why I remember this, but I do.
Yep.
And then the next year, Aaron Rodgers dropped and sat behind Favre for 3 years.
Yep.
Then you fast forward to 3 or 4 years ago, the same Packers team took Jordan Love and let him sit for 3 years.
Good. Yep.
And you look at the time guys are sitting back then compared to now. And then you look at back then when, like, I'm just going to throw out a scenario. Akili Smith played at Oregon. He was a Heisman, front runner and all that back in the late 90s.
Yep.
The Bengals took him like 3rd overall. They threw him to the fire, and he just imploded, right? There's a million examples of that.
Yep.
But if you look now, look at how much better guys that are getting thrown in early are doing compared to guys 20 years ago.
Good point. You're right.
Like it's insane. Like I still think there's something to be said for organizations sitting a guy for a year. You know, like even Mahomes, he's the best maybe ever, dude. And he sat behind Alex Smith.
Yep.
So if you got that dynamic and you can make that happen, like that's a great thing. But then you look at Trevor Lawrence, he started right off the rip there in Jacksonville. And dude, now granted, Urban Meyer was a dumpster fire.
Of course.
But dude, he struggled and he's still kind of struggling.
He is. Yeah, I think it's because, you know, now with the salary cap, which, you know, we've had a salary cap, but, you know, these guys, you just can't afford to have a big number hitting your cap and have him riding the bench, you know, and then, of course, you know, these coaches that, you know, they got a short leash. So it's like, you know, unless you're Mike Tomlin, it's like you got to win now, you know. So it's kind of a messed up dynamic. They push these guys out there too early, and it makes you wonder if he would have got drafted by somebody else and he had a little more time, would he have been a bust, or could he have been the next Brady or Mahomes? You know, we never know.
Well, here's my theory, and what I was getting at with that: quarterbacks 20 years ago compared to quarterbacks now. Quarterbacks coming out now are better athletes.
Mm-hmm.
They probably have 50,000 more throws than the guys that came out because they're going to these Elite 11 camps and they're going to, you know, all these summer 7-on-7 camps and all this stuff. They've played the position more than the guys 20 years ago. Now, with that being said, you still have to be put in a situation where you can succeed. Now, Mac Jones is the best example that I felt like, and I think he's not done yet. I think he's going to be the next Darnold, where Sam Darnold, we thought he was done, and now he's led the Vikings to a 14-2 record. So I think he's the next one because when the Patriots drafted Mac Jones, if you completed, I don't care who you're throwing to, if you have to put the ball where it needs to be. And he completed 72% in a season in the SEC. That's unreal.
Yep.
So you tell me you get drafted by a dumpster fire because at the point with it proved that Brady was the reason the Patriots were winning, not Belichick. And you get your offensive coordinator is essentially a defensive coordinator. Like the whole situation was a mess. And they just threw Mac Jones to the Wolves, and they traded him. And now here's the thing. Had Kyle Shanahan got what he wanted and they didn't take Trey Lance at 3 and they took Mac Jones, imagine how good Mac Jones would be on the 49ers.
Yeah, that would be – he's got so much talent around him. He could just be a game manager. You know, you're right. He could be an all-pro. Who knows?
Look, I mean, dude, Brock Purdy was the Mr. Irrelevant. And he's looking like a not a top tier quarterback, but like right under that.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the team that they've built.
Yep.
I mean, so like I think that's one thing too, though. Like coming out in this draft, like I'm fascinated with the draft process, right?
Yeah.
And like I love college football. We're from the South. That's what we do. We watch college football.
I like college better than NFL, honestly.
I do too.
So much more parity. Each game means more. The fan, everything's just way more intense. I don't know.
That's shifting with NIL, but we can get into that in a minute because I'm going to go on a tangent about NIL.
Yeah.
But did you watch Arizona State and Texas this past weekend?
What a crazy second half. It was, 17-3. They missed a field goal at the end of the half, and I'm thinking it's over. And Arizona State fights all the way back. Great. I mean, parity now in college. That's one thing about NIL I think is going to be great for us as fans is the parity now is going to be insane. Like everybody has a chance to shock the world every year. But yeah, I watched the game. It was wild.
I think there was some missed opportunities in the first half.
For sure. Yeah. Big time.
I think that like twice down, kind of not in the red zone, but right outside the red zone, they decided to go for it and get it. You know, you add that up, that 6 points would have won the game.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, there's certain things in the first half. I think that coach is a really good coach, though, because at halftime, he's like, all right, this is how we got to figure this out. They come out. And that Scatabo kid, Jesus.
He's a monster. He looks like McCaffrey to me.
He reminds me of Mike Allstott.
Or Mike, yeah, he's kind of like in between. Like he can do it all. He can catch out the backfield. He's tough. He's gritty. Yeah, you're right. He's kind of like an Allstott McCaffrey hybrid to me.
I don't even care what he runs. He can run a 5 flat, and I'm gonna be like, I want that kid on my team.
Yeah, he's a player. I mean, Antonio Brown, I think he ran a 4.6 or 4.7, and you know, while he was in his prime, he had 100 catches a year for like 7 straight years. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, that kid's a player. I seen a lot of people complaining about when the lineman kind of suplexed him in the end zone. Did you see that play?
I did, yeah. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, because you can push them, you can pull them, and I'm like, well, it was first down. Even if they, he would have scored on that drive anyway. I thought it was awesome too. Just great effort by Arizona State.
And it was one of those things where, Philadelphia has got famous for that tush push.
Yeah.
And, there were so many teams in the NFL in the offseason this year that were trying to have it banned that you can't do that.
Yep.
Well, if you remember back in the day, USC, when Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush was there, they played at Notre Dame, and they had to win that game to get in the national title game. Mm-hmm. And that was the year Vince Young went on that tear, and they upset. That was a great game too. Yep. But, dude, I remember Reggie Bush. It was like 3rd and goal, and he pushed Matt Leinart into the end zone. That was 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's been around forever.
Forever, but then you got these billionaire owners like, hey, this ain't fair. You're like, come on, dude. Like, I think
way to stop it. Just like anything an offense comes up with, spend your whole off season coming up with a game plan to stop it. I mean,
I think the only way to stop it is to have one of those, like, one of my favorite players was he played for the Texans. He played at Miami. The big defensive tackle. What was his name?
Vince Wilfork.
Vince Wilfork. I don't know why I couldn't remember that.
Yep.
Dude, he was so funny, too, because on Hard Knocks, he walked around in overalls. Like, he was awesome, man.
No, he don't care.
He did not care.
That's all.
If you had a player like that, I think, and could kind of plug the middle, I think that's the only way. And then maybe have a linebacker kind of blitzing behind him. That's the only way to kind of stop that, I think.
Yep.
The
defensive personnels now are designed to stop the spread offense. So teams don't carry those type of D tackles anymore. So I think the Eagles were like, hey, we're just going to line up in the box and run it right at you. I don't think you got the defense built to stop it.
Well, it's the same thing on their defensive side too, though. They drafted Jordan Davis and then Jalen Carter from Georgia back-to-back years. Jordan Davis is a large human being.
Yeah.
And Jalen Carter's a large human being who's a freak athlete.
Yep.
So I think that I'm going to give credit to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, me too.
Dude, Howie Roseman, I think, is their GM, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bro, that dude has killed the draft year after year after year. Like, he drafted the first white corner, right? The kid from Iowa. What's his name again?
I can't remember. He's from Iowa, though, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Let me look him up, dude. Cooper DeJean.
He had a big play this year. I can't remember what he did, but
Cooper DeJean.
Cooper DeJean, yep.
Yeah, he smacked Derrick Henry in the backfield.
That's right. He sure did. Yeah,
boy. And it was like a blast double too. Like it was perfect.
Well, I'm sure he wrestled.
Being from Iowa, you would think, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, so he's the white corner I've seen since Jason Sehorn from the Giants back in the day.
Yeah, 25, 30 years ago. Dude, I don't feel like, here's the truth, though. In general, most African Americans are better athletes than white people. It's just the way it is. If you look at any sport across the globe, of course, the NFL, the NBA, I think Major League Baseball is kind of like, Hispanic, a lot of Hispanic Cubans.
Oh, yeah.
They play baseball from the time they're 4 years old. They're swinging a bat.
Yep.
And I think there's a different outlook on it too, because we've played, and you being the president of a youth football league, you've probably seen this dynamic, and I want your opinion on it. If you look at most, and this is not a racial thing. I don't want anybody to take it that way. But if you look at most white families, there's one or two crazy dads, right? But if you look at the black community and you look at some of those football games, they're playing, man, they're trying to make the league tomorrow. It's almost bred that you got to make it to the NFL. And I've seen that up close in youth games that we played. And these guys are running, offenses with 7-year-olds that shouldn't even exist.
Yeah.
They're pulling guards and it's what is happening? And it's like a way of life in the black community with the sport of football. And I think that's great. I mean, that's why if you look at it, the NFL is probably, 90% black. And, there's nothing wrong with that. Go get it, man. That's awesome. Now, with that being said, though, I feel like it comes from their youth. And,
it does.
You got this community that, dad or uncle or grandpa, and it's the same thing when you get into wrestling, right? It's the same thing, but more people play football.
Oh, yeah.
So you got, dad played at Auburn. I'm just making this up. Dad played at Auburn, or uncle played at Georgia, or whatever. And then they know what to do to get this kid ready to be a D1 guy and then go to the NFL. And they start him when he can barely walk. They start give him handoffs. And then, I can see how that kind of translates, because when you got guys who was it a few years ago? He plays for the Bucks. His dad, Brady, actually played with his dad and then played with him.
Okay.
Who was it? Let's see here. I'm gonna look this up. Winfield Jr. maybe. Let's see. Tampa Bay corner. I think he's a corner or a safety. Let me look. I'm gonna cheat sheet this one. Usually I'm on top of things, but let's see. Antoine Winfield Jr.
Yep.
All right. He played in the Super Bowl there, I believe, with Brady right there at the end, his last Super Bowl. And Brady played with his dad years before. I do believe. They may have just played each other, but I think they played together.
Same age, basically.
Yeah. You look at that, then you look at Marvin Harrison Jr., right?
Yep.
You look at all these. Look at Arch Manning, right? Look at Arch Manning. There's so many scenarios where, there was somebody in the family that this was their thing and they passed it along. And now this kid and this kid and this kid's going to be very successful for the rest of their life. But what do you think about and this goes for wrestling, baseball, any sport you want, because you see this on a youth level.
Of course.
What do you think, in your opinion, with kind of the stress that parents put on kids to be something? What do you think of that?
Man, amazing question. A lot of times in the lower income communities, they see athletics kind of a way to escape, even if it's subconscious. They might not even be able to put a finger on why they care so much. And in the low-income communities, and honestly, this probably goes for any low-income community. If you go to the Appalachians in West Virginia, I'm sure there's some sport or something that those individuals are pushing their kids to do. I grew up in South Nashville. I was one of the only white kids in my whole neighborhood, and we played football. We played on basketball courts. Coaches would come through in vans, pick us up, take us to practice. This was in the early 80s. I wouldn't suggest hopping in a van in 2024. But
No.
He would take they would take vans of us to practice on the way home. And our parents, it was just me and my mom and my little brother. She was all in. Whatever, pick them up, take them, bring them home at the end of the night. We don't care. And then kind of for me being a young, guy in a lower income community, I learned pretty quick that if you're good at sports, football was my thing, people just kind of treat you different. You kind of get put in a different hierarchy amongst your peers. The teachers treat you a little different. The coaches treat you a little different. You get a little perks. You get a little this and that. You're kind of the cool kid in the neighborhood, because word spread. Hey, he's good. He'll hit you in the mouth, or man, he's a player. He's gonna be something one day. And then you kind of enjoy that feeling. If you're in a low income area, you don't have much, to be proud of, per se. Now you do. You got something. And you're just fighting and clawing every day to stay at the top of the heap amongst your peers, right? And then as years go on, you get in middle school, you get in high school. Now your peers kind of start dropping off, but you got new competition. They're across town, or maybe they're from Memphis or from Chattanooga or wherever they're from. And then, so now you're competing with guys in other towns, and you keep attempting to level up. I think it comes back to subconsciously. It's a way to get out, and it's just in our culture. Every region, every area, has a different culture. Go to Dominican Republic, they put a stick in their hand and make them hit gumballs when they're born. Their hand-eye coordination. You go to Atlanta, and they got everything in Atlanta. Don't get it wrong, but youth football is massive. Like, it's a big deal. I mean, them people really care, and it's fun, So I think it's a cultural thing. Personally, as far as the parents, there's a really fine line. You can go overboard, and so it's what that mark is. It's hard for me to tell. But I feel like when the parent starts getting toxic and starts getting a little crazy, starts creating enemies and just stirring up drama over youth sports, they're probably taking it a little too far, And the kid, I've seen kids that want to play around and they do not care. They'll wake up and go. It's not a big deal. And I've seen kids that you can see it in their eyes. They're burnt. Like they want to be a kid. So I think every situation is different. I wish there was like a baseline model that we could say, hey, if you're a wrestler, you only need to wrestle X amount of matches or X amount of months, but there's not, same with football,
There is though. There is.
You think there is? What do you think?
There is for wrestling. Okay. I seen this a few years ago, and I'll find it and I'll send it to you when we're done today. USA Wrestling came out with a study about maybe 5 years ago. And it was age based, right? And I think this could work for football, baseball, basketball, like any sport,
right?
And it brought in up to physical development, mental development, like emotional development, like every aspect of like a kid. And it was like, okay, for 4 to 6, they should wrestle no more than 30 matches or no more than this. And they should only practice this many times a week. And then, right. 7 to 10 was this much and this much. And then, up and up and up. The problem that we have, and I'm as guilty of it as anybody.
Right.
Like, we'll just use Bryson. When he was 9, I want to say he was 9, maybe 10. I don't know. The year we went this one year, and it was the only year I wrestled him this much ever, and I regretted it bad. Mm-hmm. He wrestled 156 matches from October to March when we had – because March 3rd that year was like the Georgia State tournament, right? And
so over to the state tournament.
You're talking October, November, December, January, February, March. That was 6 months of a season because that year we started at like a preseason duel, and then we went to Super 32, and then we went just like all the way around the deal. And then we went out to Tulsa, and he was cutting weight. That's the worst part. He was cutting weight almost every weekend.
Yeah.
Like, he was so miserable, and you could see it get as it went on. Like, in the beginning, I'm all for it. When we got around middle to end of January, I remember starting to see – we went into back when he was small. We went to Tulsa, I think, 3 times. And each time we went, the top 100 in Chattanooga was always the week before Tulsa.
Okay.
So we would do that as like a trial and hit the same weight.
Yep.
And then wrestle at top 100 and see how he felt, and then go from there. And the year he placed out there, I think he placed 5th maybe 4 years ago, something like that. The week before we went to the top 100, and he was going to, if we wasn't going to Tulsa, he'd probably wrestled 75. He wrestled 70 because he had to make 69.8 or whatever, at Tulsa. And he was massively bigger than everybody, right? Like, it was crazy. Like, he just killed everybody. And he should have, right? Like, he was way bigger. Nobody was cutting for that. I kind of felt bad in a way, but it was just a trial run, right?
Yeah.
Now, when we went to weigh-ins, Boskin, I've known Josh for 10 years, right? I love Boskin.
I talked to him today. I saw him at Bradley yesterday.
Dude, Josh is I got so many, I love Boskin, dude. He's something else, man.
He's awesome. I actually sat there and watched him coach his girls yesterday and, like, mentally was taking notes. Like, I really enjoyed just watching him coach, especially during the matches.
I got a great story for you about Josh in a minute. Let me finish this real first. You're going to laugh. You'll love this.
All right.
Boskin comes up to Bryson and he says, dude, you're skinny. And, dude, he was, man. He looked like a freaking starving Ethiopian kid.
Right.
And we go out to the car and he's like, he made weight. And he's sitting there and he's like eating, I guess he ate a couple peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and he's just drinking and trying to get his energy back. The next day, he was back up to 77 the next day. So then we had to start. We wrestled this tournament. Then on Sunday, he had to start on Saturday. Then we had to start cutting again on Sunday.
Right. For the next week.
Because we had to weigh in on Wednesday to start wrestling Thursday at Tulsa.
Yep.
So by the time this late January period got there, it was like, dude, I'm done with this. I've had enough. Like, I don't like this anymore. I hate it. And you could kind of see it. We finished up like some Georgia tournaments we did in a door or whatever. Then we get to the state tournament. This year he had beat everybody at his weight in the state at these Battle for the Belt tournaments. He got beat 6-4 in the semifinals at state.
Wow.
By a kid he had pinned like 4 times.
Right.
And he threw his headgear out in the stands. He hit this woman in the face. I remember I've told that story a million times.
Yeah, I heard it. Crashed out.
Yeah, he crashed out, dude. And man, I remember on the way home, we kind of had that conversation. He's like, dude, I just wanted it to be over. I just didn't care anymore. I just wanted it to be over. So, usually we went right into freestyle. We took like 2 or 3 weeks and then jumped back in, did freestyle, but we didn't compete a lot that year. I think we just practiced, went to like 2 tournaments or something. Mm-hmm. I tell you what, man, there is a balance, right? Because you got kids that you do have some kids, like you said, that they don't give a shit. They'll just go. But there's very few of those.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I think that there's got to be a healthy balance. Like right now, it's common knowledge that he's suspended for the year. He can't wrestle.
Yep.
So like he's doing something different. Like he's going to practice today just because the scuffle's down here. So he's going to go get a wrestling practice and go watch the scuffle.
Yeah, I saw MMA. That's amazing.
Dude, he jumped in on that head first. He said, I can't wrestle. He goes, I'm bored going in drilling when I can't compete.
Yep.
He said, I'm just bored. He said, I every day, I know that's what makes me better. But like, dude, I don't care because I can't go use it. He said, maybe I can go learn something new. And I argued with him for a few days. I was like, freestyle season starts in like, a couple months. He said, dude, I'll just start back then. Even though I think his buddy who picked him up this morning to go to church and to practice and all that, they're going to convince him to start going back. And, that's cool. If somebody else does that, I'm all for it because I don't want to put pressure on him.
Yeah, of course.
But with that being said, he jumped all in on that MMA shit. Dude, this is great. And I'll tell you the Boston story in a minute.
Yeah. I changed the subject. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. He told me one night, he was, you ever heard of a kid named Harrison Murdoch?
No, I have not.
He's an absolute killer, dude. He's been, he's won Tulsa a couple times. He's amazing. He's one of Bryson's best friends.
Where's he from? Your area?
Ringo,
okay.
Yeah. And he just lives like maybe 3 miles from us.
Okay.
We love Harrison, and we have an ongoing year-to-year joke that him and Bryson and Billy Hamilton are the Catoosa County Beastie Boys.
Okay.
And it's based off of a stupid picture they took 4 years ago at the Colonnade where they're throwing up gang signs, like up by some flags or something, like 3 a.m. when they snuck out or something.
Right, right.
And I told him it looked like a Beastie Boys cover. So now every year for Christmas, we send the other boys, a shirt that has a different design, Catoosa County Beastie Boys.
Yeah, that's funny.
Well, Harrison and Bryson, about a week or two ago, were playing Fortnite together.
Mm-hmm.
And they were cussing each other and whatever, they do with the headsets and shit.
Oh, yeah.
And Bryson starts talking to Harrison. He's like, dude, I want to box. He's like, you want to box? He's like, yeah, but I ain't got time, man. He goes, I got so much stuff to do. That sounds cool, though. He goes, since you can't wrestle, you should go box. And he looks at me about an hour later. He goes, Dad, I want to box. I was like, dude, you don't box. He's like, no, I think I can box. I was like, okay. So Landon Reed, shout out to Landon Reed. He's the co-head coach at Heritage High School.
Yeah.
We actually did his youth gear for the Heritage Youth Club.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, he's a great guy. But he caught. I put a post up on my personal Facebook. I was like, "Is there a boxing club around here?" Like, I don't know nothing about no boxing. And right. Landon Reed sends me a message. He said, "Dude, look up Militia MMA."
Yep.
I was like, "Okay." So I look up Militia MMA. Turns out the guy that owns it is Tom Galicchio, who's a sweet human being. I want to give him a shout out to Tom Galicchio. He is an amazing human being, and he has the greatest logo of all time. I'm going to talk him into getting a Matt Clash character just because his logo is so cool. He's literally missing one of his front teeth.
Oh, yeah, I know him.
You know him? Okay.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of jiu-jitsu tournaments. I know he's got the gym in Chattanooga. So, yeah. He was on Ultimate Fighter. Great, awesome personality. Yeah. Always smiling, always speaking. Really
sweetheart.
Mm-hmm.
Sweetheart. And his logo is smiling with an army helmet, and it's missing the front tooth.
Yep.
It's the greatest thing I've ever seen. So I leave a message on this answer machine about 3 weeks ago. And he goes, it said, Militia MMA, blah, blah, blah. I said, hey, my kid wrestles, but he's suspended. He's wanting to do like boxing. And he calls me back. He's like, yeah, man, we're having a class at like 7. I was like, cool. So I bring him into this MMA gym, and I bought him a pair of gloves because he didn't have gloves. And, dude, he just went after it. And then after 2 or 3 days, Galicchio's like, man, he wrestles, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, I kind of want to see him wrestle. I was like, well, you got to talk him into it because I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. And he says, well, we only have a wrestling class once a week. He said he don't need to be in that, though, because it's like a beginner, I think, kind of thing. But he's like, but he could do jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, he's like, it don't cost that much more for your membership to do grappling too. I was like, well, just charge me for it, and you can talk him into it.
Right.
So he went to boxing class. I think boxing was 8 to 10 or something like that, and then he went to they had jiu-jitsu right behind it. And now
is he doing no gi or did he put a gi on?
No gi.
No gi.
He will never put a gi on. He told me that. He goes, I'm never wearing that fucking thing. That's what he said to me. In those exact words, I'm never wearing that fucking thing.
I mean, it has its place. I've trained for almost 20 years now. I've worn a gi twice. So,
yeah, he just, I don't know. It's one of those, if you get to know Bryson, he's a super cool kid, man. But he's very, he's always messing with his hair, and he's got to wear certain colognes, and like he's got to wear certain clothes, and like,
about his appearance, So
I don't know. He just said that don't mesh with me.
Yeah.
But he goes in. He does which he had done some jiu-jitsu with Chet Blaylock. He passed away a few years ago. Sweet human being. His son's a sweet kid, Eli. Maybe 5 years ago, he did a summer of it. Before there was like training centers all over Chattanooga now, like Minion and Grindhouse. We did a few Grindhouse practices back then in the summer, but he wanted something else. Right. So he kind of knew a little bit, but he didn't know much. So he does the jiu-jitsu class, and there's him, and he's about, 5'4", weighs about 125 now. And then you got 3 grown men.
Yeah.
And he had no fear, bro. No fear. But this is not a knock on anybody.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you right now, if you got a kid that wrestles and you put him on a mat with a jiu-jitsu guy, that wrestler is going to kill that jiu-jitsu guy.
Oh, grappling is grappling, so you're already levels above the average new grappler.
Yeah, dude, it was – he went with this one guy who looked like he should be playing running back for the Falcons, and he submitted him twice.
Mm-hmm.
With the only thing he knew was an arm bar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And then this other guy comes over. It was kind of – dude, I found it funny, and I posted on my Snapchat. When your 15-year-old son is casually brutalizing middle-aged men for breakfast. And I found it hilarious because I didn't expect that. I was like, dude, he's giving up like 80 pounds. Like, what the – and this one guy comes up, nice enough guy, but, he goes, so we're going to go neutral? And Bryson's like, I don't care, whatever. And Galicchio, they're like, yeah, he wrestles. He can do it. Yeah, go ahead. And he takes the guy down, like right off the rip. And then he's working and working and working and working, trying to get – now, he didn't submit this guy, but he never got off his back either.
He was all over him, yeah. Yeah,
so it was like, okay. So, and after it was over, I was like, what do you think of jiu-jitsu? He's like, dude, it's kind of cool. He's like, I actually – and he said this, and then he tried to change up real fast. He goes, I was really glad to get back in my stance. And then he's like, no, I didn't say that. No. And then he's like, fuck wrestling. And I was like, dude.
He's a little jacked right now.
And I understand why.
Yeah.
He's heartbroken and he wants to be with his buddies. He's seeing all these kids that are, wrestling these tournaments and he's just hanging out. And now, granted, he does know it's his fault, right?
Yeah. Still hurts.
Yeah. It's what it is, but it's been pretty cool to kind of see a different side of, I've been around wrestling a long time, but I've never really been around, MMA. So I think that's a really cool dynamic that we're getting to enjoy a little bit.
Striking is so fun. I tell people wrestling is a martial art. So
absolutely.
Oh, it's probably one of the best. So, you're just adding to your toolbox, you learn the proper ways to punch, kick, throw an elbow, throw a knee, and you can wrestle. I mean, that's dangerous.
I think, I was talking my little pseudo daughter there, Audrina. Mm-hmm. We had brunch, I guess you'd call it, yesterday, me, her, and Bryson. And I was trying to tell her, I was like, dawg, you need to like maybe go to boxing class with Bryson. If nothing else, maybe you should learn some like self-defense, right? Like, and I don't know if I'll talk her into it because she's kind of like a, a girly girl type,
Right.
Yeah, she does play soccer, which is cool. But like, it's one of those things where I feel like that for young, like, I think it's amazing, like Shy and like you look at Piper Fowler and you look at, all these girls across the state, the Grassman chick, anybody who does it, any girl,
Yep.
I'm just throwing out some dude across the country, they're never going to have to worry about being abused or attacked or anything, right? And there is a dynamic where, you look at like the coldest video I've seen lately was I interviewed that Miss Cradle last week.
I watched that. Yeah, I watched that.
Yeah.
She's YouTube or on Reels, and then I saw her name. I said, I got to watch this. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. That kid, man, she posted a video maybe a couple weeks ago, and it was like one of those AI like voices, and it said, I pinned him in front of his dad.
I seen that, yeah.
Bro, it was the coldest video.
He's sitting in the chair, and he's just got this look like, really?
Dude, there's girls out there that can wrestle, man. And
girls at Blackman, some kids that smoke the boys. I mean, I love it. I think it's
I do too, man. Like, like I remember, like maybe I'm wrong here, but don't quote me. But I remember, like when Piper was in middle school, we were going up to Cleveland a lot, right, to train. And dude, I don't think she ever lost a middle school match. I could be wrong, but I don't think she did. So I mean, she's a beast, bro. And You know, years ago, Bryson had a rivalry with a girl from Ohio. Lyric Hetzer. She's still a stud, man. She goes all over the place. Bryson beat her 5-4, and then she at the Tyrant Duels in Ohio, and then she beat him 5-4 at VAC. And I remember the story so funny. He had his head stuck. Like if he just got out the back door, he scores, he wins the match, right?
Yeah.
And the ref's on the other side, and he's not moving, and that girl's locked her legs around his head, and he was so mad.
He couldn't get out, yeah.
He couldn't get out. But she's a stud, dude. Like, there's girls that can go, man. And
oh, yeah.
Those girls, the point I was making with that, those girls will never have any kind of struggle with taking care of themselves, right? So I'm all for, I think it's great that women's wrestling's growing. I think it's great that you're seeing, like, when we went to Boston class, man, they have like not jujitsu. I think it's like maybe a beginner jujitsu, some kind of class before that. Right. And dude, there's like half of them are women.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's great.
In there trying to learn some stuff.
Yeah, man. But the Boston story. I told you I'd tell you the Boston story. Yeah. When Bryson was 8, Josh, he made the state finals at AAU, for Tennessee. The last year, maybe he was 7. He was 7. And what is midget? 7'8"?
Midget is 8'9", so he was probably a bantam, I think.
Yeah, he might have been a bantam. I don't know. Anyway, he literally I've told the story before, so I won't go into too many details. But he went on a tear that he shouldn't have done. He beat kids he shouldn't have beat. Like, it was crazy. And he runs up to Josh because we went to a day camp at Cleveland like a few weeks before, and he goes, hey, dude, I made the finals. He goes, cool, man. Go get your singlet. So he runs around the gym down there at Williamson County, and he grabs his singlet or whatever, and Josh starts talking to me. He's like, here, man, he's handing out flyers for the Boston train camps.
For the camp, yeah.
Yeah. And this is the first year. Now, Bryson's been up there every summer since, at least 1 week. And Dominic Cordero, shout out to Dominic Cordero.
Yeah.
Bryson and Dominic are the greatest practice partners together in the history of the world. They've wrestled 100 times. They are the greatest. They just mesh. I can't explain it. I love Dom. Shout out to Dom. With that being said, he goes to this camp at 7. All right. The overnight camp. He's 7. Yeah. All right. I buy him a cot, like a cot, like an army cot.
Yeah, like sleep on a gym floor or something with.
Yeah. And I drop him off on Sunday, and I pick him up Thursday morning at like 10. He's wearing the same damn clothes he was wearing when I dropped him off. And I said, Boston, he's wearing the same clothes for like 5 days. He's like, well, he showered.
He's like, man, we're here to train wrestling.
Dude, that kid literally, he would shower and put the same clothes back on.
I didn't brush his teeth or anything.
Dude, when I got there, this was at the Jones Center. You've been to the Jones Center, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
And in that room back there, the locker room, there's some showers lined up. He said, well, Dad, the water's so cold. I said, I don't give a shit. Get in that shower room. And he went in there, and I washed his hair. I was like, dude, this is brutal. And made him brush his teeth and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
And, but he had clean clothes, literally, like 8 pairs of clean clothes in his back. He hadn't even touched them.
Well, as men, we got different levels of clean or dirty.
He went to a new level with that, bro.
His level's like way up here. Like, did I sweat in it? Nope. I can just keep wearing it every day.
Just keep going. Yeah, let's talk about your son, man. I'm really interested. Jericho. For one, I want to say that's the coolest freaking name ever.
Man, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I love it.
Where did you get that from? Like Chris Jericho, the WWE guy?
Hey, kinda. So we got 8 kids total together, and so Jericho is my third, son, biological son, and all of us kind of got biblical names. We all got 2 middle names. So I'm like, all right, I want to come up with something different, something cool. So, there was a town, Jericho, in the Middle East, and the Walls of Jericho, which was not only one of the best finishers of all time in WWE, but it was a big biblical story. So I liked it. I thought it was cool. So his name's Jericho Eli Noah.
That's actually Bryson's middle name's Noah, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that name too. Yeah, now the coaches and the kids, they call him Rico a lot now, which is cool. I don't mind that, but I'm like, he ain't gonna morph into Rico. He's gonna be Jericho.
Where did Rico come from?
Just because Jericho. So
okay, that's cool, man.
Blackman, they're like Rico, just it's quicker, it rolls off the tongue a little better.
How old is he?
He's 10, so he turned 10 in July. So he'll be so he's about 10 and a half. Sleeping Beauty came in here to say hi.
Hello.
Hey, kid.
She wrestled all day and then went to work at Taco Bell till 3 a.m.
That's a winner right there, man. That's a winner. Shout out, Shy.
She's going back to bed.
Hey, that's all right too, man. That's tough, man. That kid's tough, dude. So when did he start wrestling? And I've seen a couple of videos.
Yeah, he's been wrestling since his 3rd season, but he started doing jiu-jitsu first when he was 3. Okay. So he went to a real good gym. When I first started dating his mom, she lived in Spring Hill out in where Independence High School and Summit High School is, about 40 minutes from me. Mm-hmm. And a guy I knew that was a black belt, we trained together a long time ago. He has a jiu-jitsu gym out there. So Shy and Jericho, I said, take him there. So we started doing jiu-jitsu when he was 3. And then we got to a turn. He was doing a bunch of tournaments, not like he does with wrestling.
Right.
Did a tournament, and he pulled guard like 3 straight matches. And I was like, nah, we ain't doing this because, you can't pull guard in the streets, So I said, no, we can't. We're not doing this. He was like 7 pulling guard in a match. That's, if you don't know what that is, audience, that's when you basically lay on your back, open your legs, and invite another person who's trying to harm you into your groin area, and you wrap your legs around his waist, right? Which it's good to know what to do if you get stuck there, I think. How do I get back to my feet or, things of that nature. But the gym he was at, that, they're training sport jiu-jitsu and they do a lot of guards. So I told his mom that day, I said, man, that's it. We're wrestling tomorrow. And so being at Blackman High School, I run a big football and cheer league there. We got about 400 kids a year, but they also got a big wrestling club. And every year, the wrestling club would always kind of get with me, want me to give flyers to our football kids, try to bring some football kids into wrestling and vice versa. So I knew, hey, why have I not been utilizing this resource, for Jericho? Like, and the jiu-jitsu is great. He still trains. But I said, hey, we're wrestling tomorrow, man. He's got to learn how to take somebody down and get on top and control somebody. So the first year, it was new to him. But he did good, I think, because he has been in so many grappling matches. He was comfortable, but I think he was like 19 and 13 his first year. Made state, didn't place. And then last year, it really started clicking. I think last year he went like 45 and 5, got 3rd in the state. Probably should have got 2nd, but they didn't do a true 2nd. So his friend that won it knocked him out in the semis, and then so he didn't have a chance to wrestle the 2nd place guy. And then now, this year he's doing it, again. And he don't even want to play football no more. He's like, nah, I'm good. He just wants to wrestle and do jiu-jitsu. So, yeah, that's what
I will say this, and this is from a dad to a dad, okay?
Yeah.
Bryson said the same thing in 8th grade, going into 8th grade. He said, I ain't playing football no more. I'm not because he played football and he wrestled like 10 months. He played football for 8 weeks or whatever it was, and he was back wrestling. I will say this: if he does take that path, in the fall, I wouldn't go full time in the fall. I would go like maybe twice a week and do other things because, man, I'm telling you, man, that burnout is real.
Oh yeah.
And it's just, dude, I want to pass that kind of thing along. I think it's good that kids do other things.
I do too.
You got to want to. Wrestling's hard, so you got to want to do it, right? You got to want to do it. And if you're to a point where, you know, I've been practicing, 4 or 5 days a week for, 17 straight months, it's not fun anymore.
Nah, it's a job. And what 10-year-old needs a job?
Exactly, dude. I will say this, though, just, again, take it or leave it advice. Bryson's 15. I know where I've messed up, what I wish I'd have done different. I would say this. I think until they're, he's 10. So until they're in that middle school age, maybe not, they do that freestyle Greco for like young kids, but you can train and not really, go to, state and Southeast regional and all that. Because if you're wrestling the folk style season, you're cutting or whatever, and you're trying to maintain weight, and then you start all over and you're doing it for another 3 months, I think that's the biggest deterrent in the sport of wrestling is you have to keep your weight down. And so, dude, Bryson made a TikTok the other day. So, what do you think of this, Dad? And he showed it to me, and it says it had back in April of last year. He went with, I guess I can talk about it now because it's not a secret, but Jason Villers, shout out to our guy Villers. He texted me, he said, dude, he goes, can we get Bryson on our Tennessee national team?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, we live in Georgia. He goes, they don't know that. I was like,
North Georgia.
Yeah, so he ended up going out to Iowa with Team Tennessee, and he posted a picture from that. And it said, "Back when I casually wrestling at 110," and then it goes to the next picture, and he's drinking a milkshake. And he says, "I think I'm 130." So I think that's the biggest deterrent, man. Is just you have to make weight. It's just so structured. So just advice as a friend to a friend, man. Maybe in freestyle, a couple days a week, just let him be a kid too, because that's something I wish I'd have done different.
Yeah, no, great advice, man. I competed at a high level. I understand the dynamic. I understand that, when puberty hits, everything changes. I understand all that. I'm not hard on either of my kids that wrestle. Even my kid, I got one that plays football in college, that plays football in high school. I'm not tough on none of them about results. I am tough about everything,
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, no, great advice, man. Listen, we've done the freestyling Greco practices. He has not done a tournament in 2 years. I want him to learn some of the techniques, but no, great advice, man.
It definitely helps you on your feet.
Oh yeah.
I think Greco's kind of useless. That's just my opinion. Some people live and die by it. Me, now, granted, you can learn some throws, which is cool. I'll say the best Greco coach, though, in the state of Tennessee is probably Shane Turner. He's up at Saudi. He ran a couple of programs for Boy Buchanan and Baylor, and he's been all over the place. And he's great, dude. I love that guy. And he's really good at Greco. But you can take something from it, but in freestyle, it translates so close to folk style.
It does.
When you're in neutral, and then it kind of teaches, to me, it's like a sense of urgency when you do get a takedown, because you only got about 15 seconds for they're pulling you back to your feet.
You got to work, and then I think I like how it teaches you. You got to circle too, and they drive you out of bounds. That's a point.
Yeah, it mat awareness. So you can definitely pull a lot from it. But I also think that, some of the best kids in the country, they're wrestling from, folk style, freestyle. They might get a month off in between, freestyle and then back into folk style. And that's cool and all, but I just think a healthy balance is probably needed. But man, I think we kind of went over our hour, buddy.
Hey, Jericho just walked in the door. You want to say hi to him real quick?
Absolutely do, man.
Come on, you sit in this chair. He's been sleeping all day, so he's got a couple broken fingers right now. He didn't wrestle this weekend, so he got to go down to Bradley and watch his sister wrestle.
What's up, man?
What's up?
What's up, dude? How you doing?
Good.
What'd you do to your fingers, man?
I was wrestling at practice, and then it got.
It what?
I was wrestling at practice, and I fell on them wrong, and then they.
Oh, that's tough, man. So you're 10 years old. Your dad was telling me you got into wrestling about 3 years ago, that you used to play football, but you don't want to play anymore. You want to just wrestle, which is cool. Let me get to know Jericho, because your sisters told me a little bit about you. Your dad's told me a little bit about you. I'm going to ask you a handful of questions. You tell me. What's your favorite food, man?
Oh, I like pasta.
Dude, don't we all? What's your favorite pasta? You like spaghetti, lasagna? What do you like?
I like spaghetti.
Dude, we all like spaghetti. Garlic bread. Yeah, yep. Boy. What's do you have a favorite movie?
I don't really think so. But I do like.
You like what?
I like Independence Day.
That's awesome, with Will Smith and the aliens.
Yep.
Dude, the greatest moment in that movie is when he's walking through the desert dragging that dead alien, or he thought was dead, in the parachute. He's like, "What is that smell?" And he starts kicking it. That was hilarious. How's your grades, man? You do good in school?
Yeah.
What's your favorite subject?
Math.
Dude, you like math?
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That'll take you far in your life, buddy. I bet you like money too, right?
Yeah.
Most kids that like math like money. What's your hobbies outside of wrestling? What do you like to do?
I like to I like playing video games a lot. I did play soccer, and I really like that too.
You like soccer?
Yeah.
That's cool, man. What video games are you into right now? You a Fortnite guy?
Yeah.
Dude, I think that's like a crazy fad now. I actually seen a post the other day. You know, like WWE is getting put on Netflix.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And somebody's posted a picture of like their new ring, and Fortnite is like one of their sponsors, and it's right in the middle of the WWE ring. I'm like, wow. Like, so, dude, that's a fad. I seen Bryson playing a few days ago. I've never played. I tried one time, and I got landed on the earth or whatever, and then somebody shot me, and I was like, yep, I'm not good at this. But, dude, he was playing as, like, Peter Griffin, and apparently you can play as, like, different characters, and I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, you can.
Who do you got? Who's your characters?
Play with it's a new skin that just came out, but I forgot the name.
So you play I think there's like Snoop Dogg on there, and Eminem, and like you name it, there's probably a skin for it. But dude, my new goal in life is I want an MB skin for Fortnite. That's my new goal. What if you could grow up to be anything, what would you like to grow up to be?
I'd be an astronaut.
Dude, that's an awesome answer. Do you why did you pick astronaut?
Because I just like space.
Are you scared of heights?
No.
Yeah, you'd fit right in. Man, that's really cool, dude. I didn't expect that. I expect you to say I want to, be president or sell cars or something, but that's really cool, bro. I really like that.
Thank you.
What so you play soccer? How long you played soccer?
Played it for just 1 year.
But you had fun with that? The running didn't kill you?
No, it was pretty easy.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, distance, man. I'll tell you a funny story. You'll laugh at this. My son there, Bryson, he ran when he was in elementary school, he wrestled, forever and, whatever. So he was in decent shape, but the elementary school talked him into doing the cross country team, right, for the elementary school. And he tried to sprint a full mile. He tried, and he even lost a shoe. I got a picture somewhere where he's literally running with one shoe on, and there's a kid behind him looking at his foot. Somebody got the picture of it. And he gets to the last straightaway, and, a mile, that's a long way on a sprint, right? And he gets to the last straightaway. He's in like third place, and he gasses out, and like 9 people pass him. and he passes like the line, and he just like falls over and lays there. I was like, he's like, I hate running. But soccer, man, that's kind of like with basketball, where you go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So, but that's cool that you're into that, man. What you got any music you like? You got a favorite band or anything?
I don't really think so.
I noticed your sister, she always posts on her stories, man, like Creed and like all these older rock bands, which I think is really cool, right? Like, are you a rock guy or a rap guy, or like, what are you into? Country music?
Rap.
You're ever much a millennial, man. That's cool. Ask Dad over there. He'll tell you. But, dude, I wanted to let you know, man, I keep up with you. I always try to share your stuff. You got a really good outside single. I'll have to give you credit on that. It's really good, man. And I look forward to seeing where you go from here, man. I'm going to keep track of you. And if you ever need anything, dude, reach out to us.
Okay.
You the man, Jericho.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Jesse.
Absolutely, dude. I didn't expect astronaut. I think that's
where you came up with that.
I think that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
I want to say, dude, I've really enjoyed just chatting with you today, talking football and, telling stories and, just kind of relating, right? That's been really cool. I appreciate you taking some time out of your morning just sit and chat with me. If I can ever help you in any way, please reach out to me. If you ever need help with anything with your youth club or you need anything, we can help you. If you need gear, if you need whatever, man, just reach out to me. And I just wanted you to know, man, you got a great family. You got great kids. Congratulations for, that's amazing. I don't know how you guys take care of 8 kids. God bless you for that.
It's man, God finds a way.
I
appreciate you. Look, we appreciate all the swag in us. There's still even the halves are just a little too big, but we know we got some shoes for the next couple seasons, so we're excited. We appreciate the love and support. Bryson, keep your head up, man. Listen, one day if you need me to give him a call, I can tell stories that I went through growing up that would probably blow his mind. It ain't the end of the world. And listen, in closing, too, I had this. Kids, if any young adult is watching this, I know it's been a big part of the platform. Listen, don't vape. Don't try drugs. Don't try alcohol, man. You got your whole life ahead of you. It sounds fun. Sometimes it is fun, I'll be honest. But the stuff that comes along with it, I can tell you some stories. I promise you, you are not ready for the stuff that comes along with it. It's better just to not try. If you're going to experiment, talk with your parents, do it in a safe manner, but listen, I was a kid too, and I had to go through it the hard way. There was a time I didn't think I'd live past 21, and here I am, 46, about to be a granddad. So, listen, I'm thinking about you and your son. Keep your head up, Bryson, and Dad too. I know it's hard as a dad. I really appreciate y'all's love and support for us, our family. It's definitely reciprocated. We feel the same about you guys.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, man. God bless. And episode 36, am I at 36? Of the Bmoney Beastin podcast is in the book.